right, data baddies, in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna give you 5 insider secrets that you won't hear from anyone else. And these secrets will transform you from just another analyst to being the go-to data genius on your team. And these are not the same old tips that you've heard 100 times, like learn SQL and build a portfolio. These are things that nobody, and I mean nobody else, is telling you. And trust me, if you skip out on this video early, you might just miss the one tip that will save you from becoming a data disaster. So grab a drink, sit back and relax, and stay tuned until the very end, because all 5 of these are absolute game changers. Number 1, sometimes the data you need doesn't even exist. When I first started my career as a data analyst, I thought I was gonna get a bunch of databases with pretty ready to go data and have everything I needed to, analyze data. Which is kind of true for the most part. Most companies have big databases and a bunch of different tables and plenty of data for you to use. But what I wasn't really prepared for is when stakeholders ask a very specific niche question that we don't already have data set up for. Maybe it's something that no one's asked before, maybe it's something that we're just not tracking yet. Whatever the reason, sometimes you just don't always have data to answer the questions that stakeholders are asking. And from here, there's a few different things you can kind of do, and you have to weigh the pros and cons of each. The first thing you can do is actually create the data that you need. That could be in the form of actually designing the metrics in SQL queries or in Python and actually creating the calculations to make that specific data point you need to answer that question. It could actually involve combining data from a bunch of different data sources and making a complicated calculation to solve whatever specific problem you're looking to solve. Or sometimes you have to create the data using your stakeholders. You might give them a survey or ask them to fill out a bunch of data in a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce. And in this case, you're actually relying on your business stakeholders to create the data you need based on their business domain and expertise. Or sometimes you have to create data in my favorite way to create data. And that's by actually tracking different events and sending those into the database. And usually in this case, you're working with developers or engineers, and you're actually setting up different events on maybe like the front end of your company's product that will fire and trigger things to be logged in the database. So for example, if you need to track different engagement metrics on a specific landing page, maybe someone clicks a button and that triggers an event to be logged in the database, and that's creating the data that you need to answer the business question. But sometimes in the real world, even if you try all those different ways to somehow artificially engineer and create that data that you need, sometimes it's still just impossible. In this case, you might be able to rely on external data sources, maybe connected to an API, or sometimes there's just really nothing you can do. And in that case, you just have to tell stakeholders, sorry, we don't have the data to answer that question. There's nothing we can do. I know that was a lot, but that's just the everyday of being a data analyst. You don't always have the data you need, and you have to get really creative to either create the data or find the data or just say no to stakeholders, because they really expect us to be a data magician. And listen, if you want to become a data analyst but you don't know where to start, grab my free 3-step data analytics roadmap below. It walks you through all the things that you need to do to land a data analyst job in only a few months. And if you're already a little more invested into your data career, check out my Intermediate SQL course below that helps you build 2 portfolio projects for your data analytics portfolio. Advice number 2 is probably what impacted my career the most. And that is, business stakeholders don't give a flying about the technical details. They don't care how complicated and how complex your analysis is. They don't want to see the crazy calculations and the metrics and all the code and all the work that you did to get to the final answer. Because guess what? They literally only care about the final answer. And sometimes that answer is as simple as yes, do it, or no, don't. Literally a yes or a no with all this work and code on the back end that they don't even ever see. I made a huge mistake on this when I first started out as a data analyst. I made this entire report that had all of these heavy duty calculations in Power BI. It was like nested functions and all this technical stuff in DAX and Power BI. And when I presented my work and findings to stakeholders, I actually pulled up the function and I was like, so this, if this, then yes, if this, then no, and then if it's no, then it goes through this. And I was explaining my entire function and logic to them. And they kind of sat there with their eyes glazed over like, what are you saying? It was a show, I'm telling you. At the end of the day, they didn't need to see all of the things I did behind the scenes. They just needed to know that I built something trustworthy that they could use to track X metric that they wanted to track. And I still cringe every time I think about that, because I'm like, Jess, what were you thinking? Why were you explaining all this logic to product and sales and marketing people? They don't care. But I learned a very important lesson from this, and it actually pushed me to shift away from complexity and technical jargon and towards easy business things that non-technical people can actually understand. Because at the end of the day, corporate people do not want to work harder. They don't want to use their brains more. They don't want to be challenged. Just tell them what to do and make it easy. Because if you make someone else's job easier, they're gonna like you more. So just make their job easy. So just cut down on all the jargon and actually shield your non-technical stakeholders from all the nitty-gritty technical details. Ain't nobody want to see all that. My third piece of advice is that false positives can actually destroy the credibility and trust in your data team. What do I mean by this? It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Every day he was like, wolf, nothing was there. Wolf, nothing was there. And then one day the wolf really was there and he was like, wolf. And then I'm pretty sure he got eaten or something. So if you give too many false positives to your business stakeholders, you're basically gonna get eaten. If you're always sounding alarms and raising red flags and making everything feel like an emergency when there actually is an issue or an emergency, no one's gonna take you seriously. And they're no longer gonna trust the data and the insights that you provide because they're not gonna feel like it matches up with what's actually going on. This is especially applicable when it comes to having alerts fire for when a metric is like over a certain threshold. If the alert fires every day, is there ever really an alert? Because stakeholders will get so desensitized to getting that same alert fire email once a day. Even once a week is a lot. And I've definitely been there with the alerts. It's kind of hard to find the right balance, but if you're always signaling that something is wrong, they're not going to believe you when something actually is wrong, and it's going to be really hard to get buy-in to get them to take action. So don't be the data analyst who cried all hands on deck and trigger too many false positives, otherwise you're going to ruin all the trust and credibility with your data organization. Number 4 is that rogue dashboards will become your worst enemy and your biggest fear. Have you ever been sitting on a company-wide all-hands meeting and then your executives pull up some dashboard or visualization that you've never seen before and you've no idea where it came from and how it was calculated and what data was used and what data cleaning process they did and what data even it is? Yeah, same. That is my worst nightmare. When I see a stakeholder who I know shouldn't be in the database or building data visualizations and drawing conclusions from it, literally presenting it like it's a fact, I literally just myself because that is scary. And that is why data governance and processes are so important, because if stakeholders have access to data and they're able to go into Tableau or a data visualization tool or worse, SQL in the database and just pull their own stuff, especially in the age of AI, it's just really scary. I think it's great that they take the initiative to do that, but you got to have your checks and balances, because at the end of the day, companies hire data analysts and data scientists and people who know data very well and understand all the implications and the filters and the trade-offs to do that job. But when you have non-technical people who aren't trained to do that, pulling their own data and building their own visualizations, it's just very scary because you don't know where they got that data from. You don't know if they had any filters selected. All data should not be self-serve. I'm all about democratizing self-serve insights, but at the end of the day, we should be gatekeeping a lot of the data because it's not really gatekeeping, it's data governance. Yay. So as a data analyst, we need to always be educating our stakeholders on how important it is to have quality control and having a data person check off on everything that they're working on and building. And even better than that, set up some sort of process for data governance, make sure the wrong people don't have access and credentials to certain things, and make sure there's some sort of process where stakeholders can actually request things and get things back. And then as a data analyst, it's your job to prioritize it so you don't get too many requests. Sometimes you have to push back and say no. Otherwise, people would just take advantage. The last tip I really need to give you is number 5, and that is that you should treat data like a product. You're not just delivering a quick report that no one's gonna look at. You need to treat it like an actual product. And that means thinking from the user's point of view. So really think about the user experience of interacting with that report or dashboard or data product that you've built. Is it easy to use? Does it have clear definitions? Are the filters very clear? Is it straightforward? How do they export? Think about all the things and challenges that users are gonna experience and try to mitigate those before you hand it over to users. And even after you've handed it over to users, make sure you're constantly collecting feedback. You can also check the history of the dashboard to see who's been using it and when, and that'll give you an idea of whether it's useful, and if so, how useful is it? And since it's a product, you also have to do the marketing for the product. So if you look at the history of a dashboard and it's not being used very much, it's either not very useful or people don't really know about it. So sometimes you have to do your own marketing. Maybe it's hosting a training call where you actually teach users how to use dashboards, how to add filters, and how to export to Excel, because we all know they're gonna do that anyways. You can even do things like announce different changes and iterations in Slack to keep stakeholders informed about what's going on with XYZ dashboard or product. So with all your data, treat it like a data product, and you have to act like the product manager and actually handle all the iterations, the feedback, the marketing, everything to keep that thing alive. Well, there you have it. 5 insider secrets that you can use to level up your data career. And if you found even just one of these tips kind of interesting, feel free to subscribe. Come on, just subscribe already. I know you want to. And if you're ready to kickstart your data analytics career, but you're super overwhelmed and don't know where to start, grab my free 3-step data analytics roadmap below. It walks you through all the skills you need, the portfolio, the networking, everything. It's a high-level overview that you can use to roadmap your future career. Until next time, sending you lots of big data energy. Bye.